Deleting all your social media is a lot like cutting a fringe, like just randomly when left to your own devices. Like it's one of those things of like, it's not a bad idea, but it's also like, it's like a textbook like impulse thing. Hello, editing Ferga, just hopping in for a moment. I'm editing this video at the moment and I'm realizing it ran really long. So maybe this would be a good one to listen to just as a podcast or something. Just like, don't bother looking at me, just like put on your headphones, listen to me talk, or don't. Do whatever you need to do, you know, do some washing, listen to it on a bus journey. Sorry about that, I promise tomorrow's video will be more timely and snappy. Okay. I am deleting my social media, some of it. That's what we're doing today. I brought us here so that I could delete my social media and then share it on social media. Ironic, huh? It's hard to throw all social media into one category, which I think is what we tend to do. Like there's a lot of people who talk about the evils of social media, and they're talking largely about two things: cancel culture and kind of hate speech and that stuff. And then they're also talking about the kind of social media where you like show your life to people in a kind of a slightly braggish way. But there are also types of social media that I think are more creative. So like YouTube obviously will be one of those. And then there are also like social media where it's kind of like about conversation with strangers about a specific niche topic that maybe the people in your immediate surroundings don't talk about. I don't have anything against social media inherently. Like I don't think it's an intrinsically bad thing. So much good in it, especially like as someone who with a chronic illness who has had to spend so much time alone, like in bed. Social media was a really amazing way for me to stay connected with the world. And also as someone who's a member of a minority group that is not hereditary, the thing about being gay as opposed to being other things, being parts of other cultural minorities, is that like you don't necessarily, like your parents aren't gay, or you don't grow up in a gay school or a gay church or anything, or like you don't come from a like, do you know what I mean? You can actually just find yourself suddenly like the member of this social group, except you're the only one you know. So like when I was coming out, social media was really helpful, just like teaching me about queer history and teaching me about like what it meant to be LGBT and that kind of stuff. This is about not painting social media with like a broad brush of it's bad. It's about like thinking like which parts of social media do I enjoy and which parts don't I enjoy, which parts spark joy and which parts don't spark joy, and then deleting all the ones that don't spark joy so that I can have a simple and nice relationship with social media. Is that unlikely? Does that sound like something that is that a pipe dream? So I'm going to go through each one and talk about what makes me want to get rid of it and what makes me not want to get rid of it, and how I'm like weighing that up. Things I do on Twitter. Politics, funny tweets, the musical company. Not other musicals, just the musical company. Twitter is probably the social media that I actually enjoy the most. I mean, I laugh out loud when I'm scrolling through Twitter. I can get in contact with people really easily because everyone has a Twitter and it's very easy to just like at someone or like slide into the DMs. I have friends who from like the UK or who I know through like a European Union program I did when I was a teenager, who I kind of like keep casually in conversation with on Twitter. So it sounds like I have a really positive relationship with Twitter and I should keep it. But also, well, maybe I should keep it. Oh, but I should. Why should I delete Twitter? Okay, let's talk this through. So this is just you watching me having like an existential like, ugh, you know. I could tweet something that gets me cancelled from the world. Admittedly, it's unlikely because it's nasty. It can get nasty. Admittedly, it's not like when I'm scrolling through now, I see no nastiness because mine is curated quite nice, but like you never know when it's gonna turn. 3, too much information. Okay, like right now, I'm seeing trending is Northern Ireland. Do I want to click on it? No. You see now I'm... I got some tea, I got a snack. This is a Mamma Mia mug. I am ready to delete Twitter. I don't need to share my thoughts. I can keep them, I can ruminate over them. I want to get back into longer format thought. Instead of consuming funny tweets, I'd like to watch some comedy specials. I have never once in my entire life watched a stand-up comedy special. Instead of reading snappy tweets that educate me about the nature of racism or transphobia or whatever it is, I'd like to, you know, read some books. Long form thought is what I'm saying. What I'm saying is tricky because there are gatekeepers in literature in a way that there aren't gatekeepers in social media. So I'm not saying that like books are inherently more intelligent or more coherent than tweets, because there's like class and racial Let's not talk myself out of it. Let's delete this. How do I delete this? It's weird how much I don't want to do this. I mean, I do want to do this, but I also in a very real way do not want to do this. We're getting rid of Instagram. Instagram does not spark joy. I have one that I had that's like an extension of this channel, and it's for health things. But then I have my main one. I made it when I was maybe 15? I've been hesitant to delete it because I don't want to lose all of the images that I have amassed on it. You can go into settings and you can get them to email you all of your data from Instagram, so they can send you every single thing that you ever posted, like photos, but also like stories and your profile pictures and everything. So I did that, and I'm going to be putting them into a photo album, like a physical photo album. I don't love the idea, as I'm getting older, of like having other people be able to see me. I know this is ridiculous because I have a YouTube channel, and that might seem like a really strange thing for me to say. Because, okay, so this is a whole other thing. I think it's clear that we all tell ourselves narratives about our lives and to understand and to like break down our lives. That's fine and cool. However, sometimes the story is so compelling and so specific, and you're so attached to it, and you're so sure of it, that you miss the fact that it's actually not accurate at all. When I was in school, I had this like very debilitating chronic illness. I was really sick. I had ME. I was like riddled with it. I was going to bed every day the second I came home from school. I only went into school maybe half the time, and like sometimes I'd go into school and I'd have to like leave, you know, be driven home in a taxi and stuff, because like I just couldn't stand. So in a very real way, I was a very, very sick teenager and did not in any way have a normal school experience, and probably shouldn't have been there. And like even comparing my experience of school to like an experience of school, like a normal one, or to like suggest that I have like common shared memories or experiences with my peers is kind of a little bit ridiculous, because obviously I was just on a whole different trip. Like I was just like I was just a sick person and they were students, you know? And in other ways I was like really high achieving and really enthusiastic, and I showed up to school and I gave it my all and I was so happy. So it's this like weird thing of like there was always two stories going on. And what I've realized recently is that like, because I was living in that story of like I'm this like normal student, because look, I showed up, it was like I was showing images, not literal images, but like conceptual images, like look, I'm this and that and the other, and I do this and this, I do this extracurricular and I got this grade. And I was able to point to these things and like join them together into a narrative that was completely inaccurate in representing my life, because in reality behind the scenes most of my hours were spent bedridden. So it's weird that I don't remember it like that, and I think in a way social media, it's not quite that intense, because I was like totally having like a cognitive dissonance, like split personality, split reality kind of vibe, but which I've been like getting therapy for, don't worry. And that's why I'm different now and in a much better place, because I like understand reality now, to digress a bit. But I feel like social media kind of does that also. It has that same effect. Like in a way, you have all these images up and it's like this one story, but it's not really the story of your life. Like your life is more complex and there's other things going on. And I think it's interesting because if you're to take that like example of like my teenage years and my illness and my like social life and how I separated them entirely and almost like they exist in two different worlds. Like my social media, my Instagram is like a record of that world, that story that I invented or that I focused on, or that I kind of, that was kind of like a lie. Like it was a lie based on, you know, the details of it were true. I really was doing things, but the conclusion to gain from it is a lie. And that's kind of what social media is. Like the pictures are accurate, but they imply an existence that is not anything like my own. I don't know if this is what I'm saying is making any sense, but because of the way I talked about and dealt with my illness throughout my teenage years, and the way I kind of emotionally detached from it and like kind of erased it from my own narrative inside my head, as you know, in real time, I just don't think social media is something I'm interested in doing, because I'm not really interested in telling stories about my life. I mean, in a very real way, like I make videos, so obviously I'm interested in telling stories about my life, but a video is a very different thing. Pinterest. Pinterest is a lot of fun and also a colossal waste of time. And have I ever really gained anything from it? Probably not. What do I like using Pinterest for? I like the images, they're pretty. I've found a few good recipes on Pinterest, but if I'm honest, the best recipes are always what I just search for. I never end up using Pinterest recipes. What else do I like it for? I like it for travel. I have really good Pinterest boards regarding travel. However, it's probably better not to scroll endlessly through Pinterest images of a place and just to go there and see it for yourself. Or not to go there, or to go there eventually, but in the meantime, instead of scrolling through images, like just live in the moment. Okay, I've convinced myself. Oh, I love my Pinterest so much though. Getting rid of our online presence, because why should I have an online presence, you know? I should just have a present presence. Aggressively sipped green tea in an attempt to be mindful. I think when I was sicker, social media had to play a huge role in my life and in my feelings of connection, whereas now I have an opportunity to live more in the real world, so I think I'm gonna just go do that. And then like I'd like to use my rest time in a more restful way as well. And if I want to read the news, I'll just read a newspaper or something. Novel idea, I know. For me, a lot of my Pinterest is like fantasies. I would just make these boards of images of things I wanted to do or what I wanted my life to look like when I was well. Obviously I'm still not well, but I'm less desperate. I'm not like bedridden anymore, so I don't need to necessarily scroll through pictures of life and constantly be thinking about the future in that same way that I needed to when I got into Pinterest. It's kind of sad actually. Like it's kind of sad to think of how much I needed this. That's a feeling. Having a feeling. That would be gross. I just have a very worrying thought, which is when I delete all my social media, then my only digital online presence will be these videos, which actually probably of all of my social media isn't my most flattering. Whatever. So in conclusion, I've just been doing these things for such a long time and I've just been on them, and it didn't occur to me that it was really a choice to be on them, or that it was a choice that I was making actively, and it is. And you don't have to be on social media. It seems like a really radical thing for some reason in my head, which is very silly, to delete social media. I definitely really see and understand why like YouTube and stuff sparks joy, to use the Marie Kondo phrase, but I don't think that my other social media presences are necessary or benefiting me in any way. So they're gone. So yeah, that's the video, I guess. Deleting all your social media is a lot like cutting a fringe, like just randomly when left to your own devices. Like it's one of those things of like, it's not a bad idea, but it's also like, it's like a textbook like impulse thing. I'm kind of in a position now where I'm kind of like getting to slowly move back into the world and slowly get to live my life and slowly get to like be an adult for the first time and decide what my life, like my healthy person life, is gonna look like. I'm definitely not a healthy person yet, by any means. Like right after I turn this camera off, I'm gonna go sleep because this was exhausting. Yeah, I just feel like I'm in this weird position right now where like I'm 21, but I'm kind of like, I'm not caught up in my life, I'm kind of outside of it, and like I don't know what I'm gonna do when I get well, or like where I'm gonna live, like what country, what place, if I'm gonna be a student, or if I'm gonna work, or if I'm gonna, like, I just feel like I have this weird situation where I have this like completely blank slate. I mean, I know we're always all designing our lives, but I feel like specifically I'm in this position of like, I felt like I was kind of outside of the designer seat of my life, like I wasn't in the driver's seat because I was at the whim of like this body that was keeping me in bed. And I want to make bold and conscious and swift decisions. I don't want to like kind of autopilot into anything. I want to decide how I'm going to spend my time on Earth, and I just don't think social media is going to be a part of it. Or at least in the way I was using it. I'm just not interested. I'm not interested in continuing. I feel like a very different person, not because I'm in any way better or more mature or more wise or anything like that, but just because I'm not in total denial about my life. So I'm not interested in keeping the same social medias because I think they peddled a narrative that I also believed, and now I've realized that that narrative was really a coping mechanism, and I want to see if I can live a life in a way that's more honest with myself. If you and I are
pals and you live elsewhere and we exchange tweets occasionally, I don't know, want to be pen pals or something? We should be pen pals. Alternatively, I do have one Instagram left. I'm not on it very often, but it is where I talk about, it's very much an extension of what's happening on this channel, so if you want to go follow that, do. Thank you so much for watching. I feel very light and mysterious. That's all.